Hi, welcome to Fluketronic. Up now we're going to do a theory and practice session, and we're going to try to go a little bit deeper into the theory behind this Magen Avot scale. Got a couple of new flutes in that I've shown recently on the channel in this scale, and so we're going to take a look at the theory behind that. Don't get too scared. The point of this is to also look at some ways to practice. Now you can apply this theory in practice in ways that don't make your head hurt. You don't have to think too much once we kind of get those theoretical underpinnings in place. Okay, so first of all, the flute I'm going to be using today is this Native American style flute. It's in the key of E by bradyoung. And so first of all, let's just listen to the notes of the scale in the first octave. I'll show you the notes to that scale. You're trying to make sense of this. It's pretty difficult because here are the notes to this scale. So it starts out, root note is E, then it goes to F, G, G sharp, A sharp, C, C sharp, and D sharp. And that's not exactly correct scale usage because I've got two G's in there. So really, I guess you would really have to call that A flat, B flat, C, D flat, and E flat. Really is really how you would have to spell that by correct scale theory rules. But you look at that and it's like, how do you make sense of that? You know, you got four sharps or four flats, however you want to think of it, and I just can't make sense of that. So what I like to do when I see a problem like this is I like to think in terms of the C scale. So that's usually a lot easier for me to think of, having some piano background, to think in terms of middle C and going from there. So let's kind of take a different look at this, and let's pretend that this was, the root note is in C. And I actually have a flute like that. It's rim blown from Carl Jung. Won't use that today, but so let's look, if we pretended that the bottom root, the root note was C, what notes would you have? And they would be this scale. So C, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and B. So again, a lot of accidentals, a lot of in-between notes that are kind of hard to make sense of. Now, a couple of things to notice in the key of C. So you're trying to think of, well, is this a major scale? Is it a minor scale? What is it? Notice that you have the C and the E, so that's a major third. You also have that D sharp or E flat, which is a minor third. So you've got a minor third and a major third in the same scale. So it's, you know, depending on which notes you select as you're playing, you can give a completely different feel to the scale. Also of note here, do not have a G note, so there's no perfect fifth. You don't have the F note, so no perfect fourth either. You do have the A and the B, so that would count. So C, E, A, and the B would suggest major scale. C, E flat, G flat would kind of, the A flat would kind of make you think more minor scale. So just a lot of different possibilities with this scale, but it's still kind of hard to make sense of. Like, you know, if you're improvising around, what note are you on? This is still, even though I like to think in C, this doesn't feel like thinking in C to me. So I'm going to do another trick that I think really helps make sense of this scale, and that's to pretend that it was in A flat. A flat. Why would you want to think in terms of A flat? Well, here's why. A flat or G sharp. You pretend that bottom note is a G sharp. The rest of the scale becomes very simple. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Right? So that's something that is very familiar, that's just an A minor scale, right? So now that kind of makes sense because A minor is the relative minor of C major. And I think I mentioned this in the other video. So if you kind of forget that bottom note, then you just have, and you play the rest of it, now you just have an A minor scale. And that is very easy to get around if you're thinking in terms of that. So, you know, you've got your A minor arpeggios, whatever you want to do there. So very easy to improvise around the A minor scale like that. And this also helps me to visualize the intervals here. So if I'm thinking in terms of second note being A and the root note, or you know, the all holes covered note being A flat or G sharp, that just helps me a lot to think, oh, there's a half step. I go up and I've got B to C, that's a half step. E to F, that's a half step. So just it really helps in visualizing the layout and kind of where you are as you're playing on the flute. So this view also lets me see all of the C modes, all of the other modes in the C major scale, right? So if I start from ABC right there, I get the C major mode or Ionian mode. Going up, you can get D Dorian. E Phrygian. F would be Lydian, right? So you can get F Lydian. Can't really get all the way up to the F just using the finger holes. Show you some tricks on that maybe at the end. So when you're getting up into the F and G there, you're kind of going down the scale for the most part. But again, F Lydian. G Mixolydian. So that was basically all fingers off would be your root note of G Mixolydian. You can pretty much keep the bottom hole covered as an anchor. That works pretty well. And then you're back to Aeolian. Okay, so this view also lets you see kind of another cool possibility. A lot of times when you're looking at these kind of alternate tune flutes, you'll run across something called the Spanish Gypsy scale or Phrygian dominant scale. It's completely different from kind of starting at the root. It would be very difficult to play that scale, I think, starting from the root here. But with this view, you can see, let me bring up the notes here, of E Phrygian dominant or E Spanish Gypsy. And these are the notes starting on E, F, G sharp, A, B, C, D, right? So this view, I can see that I also have with this tuning a very easy E Phrygian dominant, which is one of these, you know, very common alternate scales that you'll find. So if I'm starting from E, it's another very cool, very easy way to play this flute. And we're just kind of scratching the surface, I'm sure. But these are kind of the thoughts I came up with at first of ways to do this. Now, okay, so let's take another look at the bass scale, the Magen Avot scale. And again, we're going to go back to the kind of the A flat view. And this will get a little bit deeper into scale theory. So if this isn't making a lot of sense, that's okay, you can skip this part. But when I'm thinking of this, if I wanted to use the Magen Avot scale, that root note, but I want to get different feels from it. So let's say I wanted to do a minor feel. Well, I know my root is A flat. So an A flat minor would use that B note, but also need an E flat. Yeah, A flat, B, E flat would be your minor triad. Don't really have the E flat, but you can kind of get it if you're going for that feel. I know I'm going to need an E flat, so I'll try and go with that. So with that in mind, you want to hit that B note. You want to avoid the C note, because that's going to be a major. So let's just try that, hitting the lots of B's and no C's, and see how that sounds like. So you can see as you're playing around there, if you use some of the natural notes and then use some cross fingerings to hit some of those in-between notes, I think it really accentuates the character of the scale, because you've already got these lots of kind of half steps in there anyway. So if you add a few more in, just it kind of adds to the flavor. All right, so that's minor. Let's say you wanted to do a major scale. All right, so now your triad is going to be A flat, C, E flat. So again, you're going to want to kind of avoid the B note, hit the C note, and maybe throw in an E flat, and let's see how that goes. So all right, so I think we'll probably leave it there for today. As you can see, we're just getting started, but I think hopefully this gives you a few tools to start kind of working your way around and learning your way around this scale and this flute. Just a lot of possibilities. I think we'll be taking up a series just kind of looking at different options, different scales, roots, all kinds of things, and we'll do that in the near future. So look for those. Thanks for watching.